my friend. Existential Courage by Albert Camus is something altogether different again, because of Camus' idea that life is absurd. So, how do you live with courage in a universe that is absurd and that is devoid of meaning? Well, this is Camus' challenge. In his myth of Sisyphus in 1942, he shows you how he solves that problem. He starts by positing that the only truly serious philosophical problem is suicide, because in an absurd world we need to decide whether life is worth living or not. He also argues that the human mind needs order, needs purpose, needs meaning, and that this becomes a huge problem in an absurd world. So when we encounter a cold and silent universe that doesn't reply to our call, when we feel lost or when we feel absolutely floating in darkness, in chaos even, what is it that's going to help us have courage even so? Well, for Camus, courage is something that isn't about leaping into faith or ideology or politics or anything. True existential courage for Camus is to stand the tension of the absurd whilst seeking meaning. So it's quite a lot like de Beauvoir's ambiguity, but it is a stronger, passionate search for something to hold that contradiction and to transcend it. And how does he transcend it? By revolt, by rebellion, by refusing to submit to your fate or to death or to meaninglessness, by revolting against the idea that things are pointless and to claim your own dignity in a silent universe. This is how you find your freedom. This is how you stand alone against the cosmic silence. Because you accept that there is no blueprint to show you the way. You accept that you are ultimately totally free to decide what pathway, what bridges you will build to cross over that abyss of absurdity. How you will take ownership of the need for you to build such a thing, and to do it with passion. So rebellion, freedom, and passion are the three keystones to Camus' solution to courage. With passion, you find your courage because you realize that it is your life, your energy, your radiance that will allow things to be lit up, nothing else. There will be lots of nice things in the texture of life, like the sun or the sea or friendship or love or art. But ultimately, it's down to you to use your passion to engage with those things. Camus sticks to the idea that to become heroic is still an absurd act, that you can only ever be an absurd hero. And Sisyphus is only triumphant for Camus when he rolls back up the boulder, up the hill, and watches it roll back again to the bottom and knows this will carry on for all eternity. While the gods thought this was a terrible punishment because it was a hopeless, meaningless daily labor, Sisyphus for Camus becomes a hero because in that supreme moment where he sees his plight, and when he descends down the mountain again, knowing full well that he has to go fetch his rock once more, he pauses and he is fully conscious of his wretched condition, the human condition, and of how meaningless his fate may seem. But by choosing to walk firmly back down, to look all around him, and to engage with his rock, which is his to eternity, he makes himself a hero. Camus says the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy because Sisyphus is brave, because Sisyphus finds the courage of his convictions, of his actions, not despite his fate, but because of his fate. And in his book, The Rebel, Camus talks about this even more. And he goes as far as claiming, I rebel, therefore I am, instead of the Cartesian, I think, therefore I am. So true existential courage is not just about asserting your freedom, but it's about drawing a line in the sand, my friend, and to stand against injustice and meaninglessness, and to work for the dignity of all people. The true rebel doesn't do a lonely struggle, but struggles alongside their mates, because they know that you have to fight tyranny together and that you can't do it on your own. So the courage to stand in human solidarity is the ultimate way of escaping from futility and absurdity. And his way of being courageous is not a sort of heavy northern way, but a very Mediterranean. He grew up in northern Africa, and he has this radiant, Mediterranean, profoundly human, joyful way of accepting fate and finding the joy in assuring oneself that we can overflow with life, no matter what the facts of life are. And ultimately, this joy comes out of this rebellious and joyful solidarity with our fellow human beings. For Albert Camus.